It started as a seemingly ordinary segment on The Kelly Clarkson Show, with the audience buzzing in anticipation as Prince Harry made his entrance. Smiling, waving, and dressed in a relaxed but refined style, Harry sat opposite Kelly, who welcomed him warmly. The tone began lighthearted, with talk of fatherhood, his new projects, and his transition away from royal duties. However, as the interview progressed, the questions subtly shifted. Kelly, while maintaining her signature charm, pressed further into sensitive territory. She brought up the ongoing tension between Harry and the royal family, particularly regarding recent remarks he made in a podcast that many interpreted as indirect criticism of King Charles and Queen Camilla. Harry responded with measured words, stating that he wished for healing but believed in speaking his truth. The crowd murmured in respectful silence, but Kelly pushed again, asking if he thought his public interviews helped or harmed his cause. "That depends on who's listening," Harry replied, his tone slightly less relaxed. It was clear he wasn't pleased with the direction the conversation had taken, but he remained composed. Kelly nodded, smiling tightly, and pivoted again this time toward Meghan Markle. "Do you ever worry that Meghan's influence has changed how people see you?" she asked. The question hung heavy in the air. Harry's eyes narrowed slightly, and for a moment he seemed to carefully weigh his response. "I'm a grown man, Kelly," he said with a small laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I make my own decisions. Meghan is my partner, not my puppet master." The audience chuckled lightly, sensing the underlying tension. Kelly, perhaps emboldened by the response, continued with what she described as a viewer-submitted question. "Say you've traded duty for publicity. How would you respond to that?" she asked with a feigned innocence that only made the jab sharper. Harry shifted in his seat. "I left an environment that was toxic to my mental health. That decision wasn't about fame. It was about survival," he said firmly. Kelly nodded again, but there was a flicker of discomfort on her face. She tried to lighten the mood by joking about Harry's Netflix deal, asking if he considered himself the new Kardashian. The audience laughed nervously. Harry didn't. He looked directly at Kelly and said, "I came here to talk about mental health and service, not to be mocked." Hush fell over the set. Kelly, perhaps realizing the tension was mounting, attempted to apologize mid-sentence. But Harry raised a hand to stop her. The mood had changed drastically. What started as a lively talk show segment was rapidly becoming a tense exchange. Kelly, trying to recover, pivoted to asking about Harry's new charity initiative. "Tell us about the veterans program you're supporting," she said, but the damage had been done. Harry answered politely, but his responses were clipped. He detailed the program's mission, its goals, and the personal significance it held for him, but the warmth in his voice had faded. The audience remained attentive, but it was clear everyone sensed the shift. Then came the question that seemed to ignite the spark. Kelly, looking at her cue card, asked, "Do you think your mother would be proud of how you've handled everything? Or do you sometimes wonder if she'd want you to stay silent?" The question was loaded, and Harry's reaction was immediate. His jaw tightened, and he sat up straighter. "Don't bring my mother into this," he said quietly, but firmly. The audience murmured. Kelly looked slightly rattled and tried to clarify that it was meant as a respectful question. But Harry shook his head. "You're not asking out of respect. You're asking for a headline." The words stung, and even Kelly appeared momentarily. Speechless, Harry continued, his voice rising slightly but still under control. "My mother spent her life being hounded by the media. I left the UK to avoid the same fate. And yet here I am on another show, being prodded like I'm just a spectacle." The audience, unsure how to react, remained silent. Kelly looked to the producers off camera, clearly unsure whether to proceed or cut to break. But Harry wasn't finished. "You invited me here to talk about service and healing. And now we're talking about tabloids, manipulation, and ghosts." The emotional strain was visible on his face. "This isn't a conversation, it's an interrogation." Kelly tried to salvage the moment, saying, "I think people just want to understand your journey, Harry." But he replied swiftly, "My journey isn't for your entertainment." The audience began to applaud, perhaps in support of his candor. Harry stood up, removed his mic, and addressed the crowd. I appreciate those who care, but I won't be part of a narrative that uses pain for profit." With that, he turned and walked off the stage. The camera quickly cut to Kelly, whose face showed both surprise and discomfort. She stammered something about needing a break, and the screen faded out. When the show returned from commercial, Kelly was back on screen, sitting alone. She attempted to explain what had just happened, choosing her words carefully. "Always strive to have honest, respectful conversations," she said. "Today's chat didn't go the way any of us expected." She didn't apologize directly, but acknowledged that things got more intense than planned. Social media lit up instantly. Clips of Harry walking off began circulating within minutes. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok exploded with reactions, many of which praised Harry for standing his ground. The hashtag #HarryWalksOff trended globally. Fans defended him, saying he had every right to protect the memory of his mother and refused to be part of sensationalist media narratives. Others accused Kelly of ambushing him under the guise of curiosity. Meanwhile, media outlets across the globe began dissecting the clip, some condemning the show's approach, while others questioned whether Harry overreacted. The debate intensified when Meghan Markle posted a cryptic Instagram story later that evening, reading, "Silence is not always peace. Sometimes you must walk away to be heard." The fallout didn't stop there. Major publications picked up the story, framing it in various ways. British tabloids ran headlines accusing Harry of being too sensitive. While American outlets largely sided with his decision to walk away, celebrities began chiming in. Amila Jameo tweeted, "What Harry did today." Meanwhile, Piers Morgan, unsurprisingly, took a different stance. Calling Harry a fragile prince who can't take the heat, public opinion was deeply divided. On the Kelly Clarkson Show's official YouTube channel, the interview had already garnered millions of views and thousands of polarized comments. Kelly, meanwhile, remained quiet for the rest of the day, avoiding any social media posts. Behind the scenes, sources from the show leaked that producers were scrambling to decide how to address the backlash. Some wanted to issue a public apology, while others insisted Kelly had done nothing wrong. Inside Universal Studios, conversations were tense. Staffers reportedly felt that the show's integrity had been compromised by veering into exploitative territory, even if unintentionally. The following day, Kelly opened her show with a somber monologue. She addressed the incident, saying, "Sometimes we ask questions thinking they'll offer insight, but we don't realize they may cause harm." She admitted she may have crossed a line and said she was learning from this. The statement was received with mixed reactions. Some applauded her self-awareness, while others felt the apology wasn't enough. Prince Harry did not respond publicly, but insiders claimed he felt disappointed but unsurprised by how the interview had unfolded. Meghan reportedly advised him to let the moment pass, focusing instead on their charitable work. Meanwhile, producers at rival talk shows seized the opportunity to position themselves as safer havens for guests. Ellen's team reportedly reached out to Harry's representatives to express support, while even Oprah's camp quietly reiterated that her 2021 interview with the couple was done with care, not curiosity. The situation had evolved from a talk show snafu to a full-blown media ethics discussion, and Harry once again found himself in the middle of a cultural debate he never asked for. Amid the storm, Harry continued with his scheduled appearances, albeit with stricter control over the formats. He gave interviews to carefully selected outlets, often via pre-recorded sessions with no surprises. He doubled down on his mental health advocacy, launching a new partnership with a major wellness brand. Despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it, his book sales surged again. The public's renewed interest in his personal life unintentionally amplified the very platform he had hoped to move past. As for the Kelly Clarkson Show, viewership spiked for the week, but dipped sharply. Afterward, as some viewers criticized the show for chasing drama over dialogue, internal memos reportedly urged staff to reevaluate how celebrity guests were prepped and interviewed. Kelly herself became more reserved in the episodes that followed, often leaning heavily on pre-approved questions and less controversial topics. Meanwhile, journalists and cultural commentators began using the term "the Harry moment" to describe interviews gone off the rails due to insensitive questioning. Months later, the moment still lingered. It became a case study in media schools, dissected in university classrooms and YouTube deep dives alike. Harry's walk-off was interpreted in various ways: an act of defiance, refusal to be exploited, or an example of celebrity oversensitivity. But no matter the perspective, no one could deny its impact. The clip was replayed in year-end compilations of 2025's most